Ashell, I understand that you're going to be doing a lightning as well.
So I didn't know that this was the place I could come to get all my problems fixed. So now that we're all here. My query, question, concern isn't specifically like a really hardcore technical issue. I am new to data processing. I have recently come back to network admin. And I think our biggest issue is documentation. So in government, you get people that move from department to department literally at a moment's notice. Like, I could have reported to work this morning. I heard that I'm no longer at data processing, I'm somewhere else, and go off there. And that happens a lot. But I think there's also a kind of inertia about just getting information, storing it, breaking it down someplace, documenting the issues that you've been having, how you resolve them, etc., and essentially what is going on with the network. So in the couple months that I've been here, we've had a lot of issues where I asked my coworkers, what was this switch? This Cisco 350, whatever, what's this? Where is that? I don't know. I've only been here 5 months. I asked this other person. Oh, well, you know, I wasn't here when we bought that. Maybe you should call this guy that works in another department somewhere and see if he remembers when he was here. So I wanted to know if you guys have similar issues and if there are any like really innovative solutions besides beating people with sticks to help, you know, resolve that.
Well, before Ashell goes, any let's see if we can put our thinking caps on. Sounds like something to do with inventory management, auditing, tracking. Andre has a solution.
Yes, Andre Griffith again. Basically, you have to document. I mean, but you can. There's so much stuff out there that really works. And it depends on the amount of users on your network too, and it also depends on what type of infrastructure you have behind it, because you don't want to have too much noise on your network when it comes to monitoring the network. So documentation wise, I mean, you can simply just try to make sure that is there, but if I think some departments are better off if something like NIGOS, they're pretty good, and there's Nmap, utilities that helps with the documentation, but also monitors the network. So when you're monitoring the network, you can store that information quickly to Excel or to HTML very quickly. I use a very simple program called Accence, AXENCE. They are very good, and they are Windows based. If you don't have the infrastructure of, say, Linux and want to run like a NIGOS or one of these other tools that are very embedded well into a web page and all that nice stuff, they take time, but it works. Sometimes you might have to spend a whole month as a network administrator just configuring those environments. But if you're if you go Windows desktop, and that desktop, you put it away and you install AdSense on it. I think right now their monitoring is free for devices. There's other stuff like asset management and stuff you have to buy. And it also has some security software, like it can actually stop certain protocols from communicating, etc. But so you can take a look at that AdSense for your Windows, but there's so much open source software that now has documentation built into it. And it's the discipline, you need discipline. Yes, you're there now, so if you implement the right practice, if you have to leave, somebody else now can pick up the handle, right? So it's just a bit of discipline. You know, as a network administrator, get the hardware out. And once you put that in that hardware, you know that someone else can easily have that good practice, that good habit.
Thank you.
But before we go, Andre, if you can speak to a little bit of the practical the process around that. For example, could use the automated tool to discover when it's plugged in. But what are you talking about? At what point are you firing out capturing information?
Yes. So basically, all right. So a good Nigos or any of those guys, or even there's a Pop Spice Works. So all these guys got discovery, so you can discover first the network. But of course, in discovering network, you have to audit it physically. You have to go around, because you may be new, as you say, you don't know where the Cisco is and whatever. Some are very clever in actually looking at cable runs. They will actually tell you how long the cable between one thing that, but it's a calculation, okay? Because it's not that they know where it is. They do a calculation. They might tell you if it's Cat 5 running. I've seen some that could do that. If it's Cat 5, but it's a calculation. So you don't know if it's scientifically correct. So like in IT, you may see things, but you have to go and still check for yourself. Just like what David Smith is talking about, the Wi-Fi's. Everything look good, but if you don't go and do that check, especially you got 350 APs, you might be seeing something and it may be totally different from what you're seeing. That's why we have to check our server rooms. We have to be real truly, is this saying this or is it saying that? So also a lot of them will map the ports on your switches. It helps you with that. So it finds, again, looking at your ARC tables or whatever on your switches, on your routers, it then tells you what the port numbers are. Then there are more advanced switches that are now using, I can't remember the technology name, but a lot of it is a lot of intelligence built in that already provides it captures the configurations already in terms of if you're using what VLANs the ports are on, even before you even get to the switch. The switch can provide certain information. It's just a new way of, I guess, the SN, well, LLDP, and there's what's the general protocol for SNMP. So there's a version 2 or version 3 out now that can give you even some more information there. So you have to, so Discovery Way is going to help you, but you have to still go and do your audit checks to make sure that that is what you're seeing. And then you will learn the environment a lot more also, especially if you're new to it. So it's best to just get one of these babies and play with it. Spice Works. I don't really like it that much. It's like a beast. But and it's, well, that's my preference. But I like Nigos and those guys because of the Linux. I like Linux. Well, I not grew at it, but I know it works well. And you can play with it on a virtual machine or whatever and get yourself up. So there's so many open source out there that can just help you with the discovery and then quickly put that into a document, Excel, HTML, whatever is your fancy. Thank you.
So we have a tool, and not to tell tales of school. I think a bigger problem is that there hasn't been a lot of maintenance and like cleaning up the network being done. So I would log into a switch, for instance, and I might see a VLAN with a name. With some kind of system that they were using 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the VLAN still exists. You don't know whether the VLAN is named Shortel. We no longer have a Shortel system, but they're using that Shortel VLAN for something else. So you can't say, okay, well, let me clean up the configuration on the switch because...
Agree.
Right. So I think I feel like I have the tools necessary to do the mapping, at least for the devices that will respond to SNMP requests. Some of them, when I first started doing it, weren't configured to do that. So you would see the devices, but you wouldn't get all the information. But that's something that I feel confident that we can, over time, sort out. I think
putting it in a document.
Yeah, I think a bigger part of it is getting a lot of the old configuration to find out why it's there, and if you still need it. I mean, the easy way to do that would be just turn it off, right? And if things start to break, then. Yeah. But that's not always something that you can afford to do.
Or what you could do is prioritize what your core services in your organization. and try to do it according to application or whatever. So if your core service is like telephony gonna be a core service. What is actually using to build that network? Then you look at then you move on to something else. If it's the accounting application, what are the core services running this accounting application? So I realize that in dealing with these structural and infrastructural stuff in IT, you have to look at it from a universal perspective and try to put kind of some type of silos, just try to divide your network. Because your network is supporting different services in the organization. So if you have a nice catalog, of your service delivery in your environment, something that tells you what your telephony is using, what is your accounting using, what is your whatever else is using, security system is using, then you will have a real better picture, probably to map out from there, and then probably even management can see, this looks as though it makes sense. Because you want the management to buy into, so
right,
that
because they want money to buy stuff.
Right. So I think you just need to also go a little bit beyond the technical side and try to put things in a holistic perspective that even the average person, even yourself, can go through easy. Even the next person that comes in may not be as technically kind of green, but they want to have lots of time. You need to have an understanding quickly of what is being supported as a service in the organization. Thank you.
Hello, Massimo Candela, RIPE NCC. So actually, your question is really also accurate in our organization. I think everywhere, and I think there is. I don't think there is a solution, but we try to adopt some approach to mitigate it at least a bit. Okay, let's be honest. No one likes to write documentation. I hate to write documentation. But the first thing we try to do is to get one of these license of this system. They are kind of an internal blog node or whatever with search engine that they have support for whatever kind of annotation and things, and we try to educate all the people from all over the department to use only that thing as a way to sharing things and also as a way to take personal notes. And this helps a bit because every time you have something, I don't know anything about it, you go there, you search, and you find bits and pieces that maybe can be useful.
Sorry, before you go on, you mean like an internal wiki or like Evernote?
A sort of. And it's an easy solution, but at the same time, it kind of works, okay? Of course, the people have to write something, but if it's a way, if it's not like a documentation thing, but it's more like also to take notes and things, maybe you don't have a complete documentation, but at least you have something. What usually happens is that, and it's always like that, you have some people working on a specific thing, and they are the only one working on that, and they get more experience on that device or whatever, and no one else is touching it, and every time there is an issue, that there is a guy that has to answer to when this guy goes somewhere else, no one knows about it. So what we try to do is use also a ticketing system to track all the maintenance and everything we do, and this already with comments and things, so when we close it, there is a ticket list, and this helps. But the thing that really helps more is this kind of knowledge sharing attitude. So after you write the ticket, you force, essentially, someone else to fix it. Someone else that's not usually in that kind of expert. I mean, he's not the owner of, let's say, that experience. So we try to do this, and a bit works in the sense like sometimes I have tickets, I don't know even that software or device existed before, but you waste some time. But in the end, if you try to do it, you share a bit more than the knowledge. That's my personal experience. That's all.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Carlos Best with Digicel. Interesting question, coming in a bit afterwards, but just picking up from what you guys are saying, I completely agree with. What has helped me going into an environment is the use of a tool such as a service catalog. trying to start a service catalog where it kind of branches out into looking at the overall portfolios that you have for the different services that you have. So even if you go into applications, you would then have an applications portfolio, and you would drill the way down to your IP addresses, to the particular security levels, and that could now set the basis for going even further and granular down to the VPNs that you may need. But it gives you that holistic view. Here's what I offer on a whole, and then you break it down into the portfolios that anyone could come and follow. And if there's things that follow set of that portfolio, then you can test them and see if the portfolio actually stands up against the business. But the business can also kind of coordinate or respect it, because they can actually see that here are the services that ICT provide, here are the requirements that they have, and if there's a gap amongst those requirements, here's what we need in order to fill those gaps. So that's been pretty useful for me.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ashell. And everyone who gave feedback. Very practical, very useful session. And that's what our lightning presentations are about.